Good afternoon, gentlemen of the American Fantasy Football League. This is your league reporter, Paul Glassman, coming at you with this week's new video. Sorry it's taken me until Friday afternoon to do, but it has been a very hectic week with work and school for me. So I'm doing it now for you guys. As I said last week, I'm going to be talking about two teams this week. The first team I want to talk about, as we're on the league page here, you can see the beautiful power rankings that I did not have to do because a lot of you apparently did not like them last year. But the first team I really want to talk about today is the Cheesehead Champs. They lost last week to Gentlmen We Trust. I did predict that loss, you got to step it up this week a little bit. They lost 130.3 to 125.9. The first guy I want to talk about for the Champs is Nick Foles. He had 14.8 points last week on 322 passing yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick, and 2 fumbles. Now I'm going to pull up his little stat sheet here, provided by ESPN.com. Now, the 3 turnovers that he had last week almost trumps the 4 that he had in all of 2013. Now, Foles was hurt in 2013, so I don't know. I can't really put too much weight into those statistics there. So I think that if Foles continues to turn the ball over, it's going to be a very long season for the Eagles' offense. But as of right now, the Chip Kelly style of offense is working. The hurry-up offense is a very big tool in the NFL, and especially for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think that that's going to continue to be a big tool for their success in upcoming weeks. The next guy I want to talk about is Mr. Chris Clemens, former Seattle Seahawk, now playing defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 14.5 points last week. He had 4 total tackles and 1 sack. I think he's going to have a big week this week, especially playing the Redskins' offensive line. That's going to be, if you didn't watch the game last week, the Houston Texans pretty much had their way with the Redskins' offensive line. And I know some of you may be saying, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal because, they've got J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. But at the same time, I'd like to put Chris Clemens almost up in that class. Watt he's a freak, and, well, Clowney's now hurt as well. He's out for a little while after having that surgery on his meniscus. So I think that Chris Clemens is going to have his way with the Redskins' offensive line this week. I think he's going to be looking about 6 or 7 tackles, maybe 1 or 2 sacks coming up this week. Finally, the third guy I want to talk about is my sleeper pick in Ahmad Brooks. Now, Ahmad Brooks did run into some penalty problems last week while playing the Dallas Cowgirls, but he did have 1 total sack, and I think this week, especially playing Chicago, I look for him to be running around the field. I think he's going to have a pretty big week against Chicago, especially opening up their new stadium in Santa Clara. All right, the next team I want to talk about is Potty Wins here. I predicted Potty Wins to take the W last week, and they did not upset, winning 151.4 to 100.1 at the Grifters. This week, Potty Wins is experiencing some great news, having Cam Newton come back after missing last week with that rib cage problem that he was experiencing. But I will say Joe Flacco did do the job for Potty Wins last week. Flacco got 6.5 points on 345 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. So not a bad turnout. And as you saw last night, Flacco put up another pretty decent score here. I'll pull up Flacco's stat sheet. He put up 14.9 points. He had 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. So not a bad week for Flacco as well. And I will say, this week I think Newton's going to have a little bit of a tough time against the Lions defense, but they don't really have that great of a secondary. So who knows? This could be a new big week for Cam Newton. He can do it with his legs and he can do it with his arm. Let's just see who he's going to go to. The next thing I want to talk about is Adrian Peterson. I think he's going to have a big week against the New England defense. New England doesn't really have that great of a decent defense. Peterson didn't really have the production in week one that we're all so used to. I mean, only 9.3 points, 21 attempts on 75 yards, and no touchdowns. I think that you're going to see at least 100 yards this week and at least one touchdown, hopefully two. And then finally, my sleeper pick is going to be Earl the Pearl Thomas, Seattle Seahawks safety. Last week, Earl hosted a 4.5 point game with 5 total tackles, and I think this week he's going to have at least 6 or 7 tackles flying around at San Diego with a pick. Phillip Rivers is very spotty as a quarterback, and so I think that's going to be a big week for Earl Thomas. And real quick, as a lot of you know, Chris Long out 8 to 10 weeks having that ankle surgery, so that's a big loss for Potty Wynn's defense there. Chris Long is a great defensive end. All right, so let's take a look at this week's scoreboard really quick. Last week, I was 6-2 in my picks. And this week, I choose UPS Loggers. Again, it's nothing against you, Cody, but I got to go with the Loggers here. Next, I choose the Cheesehead Champs to take it over the Prospect Hill Punishers, so please don't disappoint me. Next, Bolo Power over the Tacktown Thugs. Statistically, this one looks like a great matchup. Sorry, Dave. Next, I got to go with Potty Wins over in Tressman We Trust. Pawtucket Patriot Ales over the Grifters. Griffin put up a great score last week. I look for him to continue it this week. Again, the Oklahoma Ass Kickers this week, 2-0. I'm going to give it to you this one. I'm going to put my faith in you again, Josh, and the Steelhead. Going hopefully 1-1 here, so please don't disappoint me. And finally, the last team that I choose, the Air Red Raiders. All right, gentlemen, this has been fun. Good luck this week. We'll see you next week. This is your league reporter signing off, Paul Glassman. Go American Fantasy Football League.